Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Vision One Media Artist Shoutout. I'm Ella Beth, your host, and today's artist is a Ghanaian-born artist. She is all about all kinds of Afrobeat, Afrofusion, Afrofunk. What other? Piano. I'm trying to think of like all of the Afro inspired styles. But she is all about that part of her music, that part of her heritage. We just met really recently, but I'm really excited to get into this chat and to be able to talk about her journey as not only an artist, but her journey as a songwriter and her life in America and her whole thing that's going on now. She's got some new exciting news coming out. So without further ado, welcome ASARI of ASARI Music.
Thank you so much, Ella. Thank you for having me. Ella gave a very good introduction. My name is ASARI Music, or my Ghanaian name being Abena Yabua ASARI. And so I was born in Ghana, Brahafo region, and I come from this ethnic group called Akan. And so I'll kind of get into how I came up with the name ASARI. And so in my culture, it's not very, I guess like people could be named after family members. So you don't necessarily have to have your dad name, and a lot of, which is a kind of a cool, fun fact. And so for me, my dad's last name is Asari, A-S-A-R-E, but I don't have that last name. And so when I was coming up with a stage name, I'm named after my grandmother. So when I was coming up with a stage name, I was like, what is something that I can take up and like, you know, to present myself as this is me, that's still a part of me, but something new. And so that's where Asari came to be about. And then I changed the E to an I. So I was like, Asari.
Okay. Cool. No, I like that. I like that you bought something that's still very much a part of your identity.
Yeah.
But you personalized it and you made it you as well. So ASARI Music. That's really, really cool. So you grew up listening to music in your household with your mother and your grandmother. What was like the styles of music that you grew up hearing?
Oh, I would say my grandmother was very religious, so it was a lot of like African kind of or a country influence on Christian gospel, but like in a context. So growing up, my grandmother will often come back from her church, Methodist, and then she will have all these songs that some are still stuck in my head. And she would just be singing it. And then over time, you kind of hear these songs over and over. And I would say that was my kind of early introduction to music and just sounds and how that made me feel and things like that. Yeah.
So what was, if there was like a specific moment, what was it that told you that you were like, oh, I want to be a singer? Like, or what was it like, what was the moment that you knew?
Okay, so I would say, like, you know, from a very young age, I was singing, you know, from the whole experience of my grandmother and mom, singing with them and stuff like that. And then so when I moved to the United States, I didn't join choirs until 9th grade. And I think 9th grade, you're like 14, 13, I think. Yep. And so prior, when I moved to the United States at age 10, I was still singing, but I wasn't in any sort of like music thing. And I would like write my emotions down, like how I'm feeling, because it was a new environment and stuff like that. So I would write things down, how I'm feeling, and I'll sing to myself when I'm feeling down. So when I entered middle school, and there's this thing that we do where, was it high school? 9th grade is high school, sorry. 9th grade, and one of the teachers, it's like a tour thing that we do. We go to all the clubs, and we have to audition to join the choir, and I sang. She was like, you have a beautiful voice, and I got into the choir.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my very formal, or I would say first kind of set of structured music thing that I entered. And so I joined choir in ninth grade, and I began to sing all sort of music, started working on my voice, and then I began to write more, and I was like, wow, I really love this. Like, this is something that I've always done, but never really, like, knew how to kind of express. And I would say choir really made me able to step into that person more, of, that whole idea of becoming a singer. So I was in choir since, like, middle school to 12th grade when I graduated, and when I went to college, I
did you
joined,
pursue that?
Yeah, I joined this
like,
gospel choir on campus.
So like the Glee Club?
Yeah, it's kind of more like a gospel choir concert thing, and then on the side, like I was saying, when like there's different events happening where they need artists, I'll just go and try and perform and things like that. And so that's been my music journey, and then coming to the studio, balancing school, and all of that stuff. So
so in the little bit of information that you sent me, you said that you sort of got your start in recording in your teens. And that when you were going out to record, you wouldn't tell your parents that you were going to record?
Yes, that's very true. Like, when you're an African child, you got to take that freedom by choice. Like, I feel like for me, like, if I went to my parents and I'm like, Mom, I enjoy to do music, I want to go to the studio, I know what she's going to say. Like, there's no need in me, like, explaining that to them when I already know what. So it's like, I might as well do what I want to do, and then, what is the point of me trying to convince somebody to, at that time or in that context of me, a 16-year-old who really loves to sing and wants to go to the studio, what am I going to gain when I know my mom would be like, go and study your books, whatnot. So I will often sneak out to the studio, bend for me.
Were you one of the cover?
Yes. So it's like, how would I come to my mom? Like, I'm going to the studio. Like, where are you going? Who is there? To save me the stress, I'm like, I was a really good student. So I'd be like, I'm going to the studio, or I'll be like, I'm going to Bender House, or I'm when I'm staying after school for tutoring. So in high school, I began to like go to the studio secretively, but I was still. It wasn't like I was just doing it.
So that is funny. My story about sort of pursuing music when my parents, I grew up in quite a religious household, and I wasn't allowed to listen to any music that wasn't Christian. Wow. So when I got my first radio at 12 years old, I would turn it on really low volume late at night and like listen to secular radio with like my ear pressed up against the radio, just like listening to like whatever the top of the pops were. So it's as creative. As creative, I don't know, we are creatives and we get creative.
Yeah, no, for real. That is so true. And especially like having like immigrant parents or not, parents who are just like, come from a very strict background and whatnot. The notion towards creativity and art is often kind of tabooed. And it's kind of like you can't convince them. They grew up in a different way of viewing art, right? And for me, how I view art, I can never convince my mom to view art the same way. The only thing I can do for myself is follow my dreams and believe in myself, my journey.
Right.
And,
yeah. So then that brings me to this question. Now that you are recording and you are an adult and you've been doing this for a while, how do they feel about your music now?
Oh, you want to know a cool fact? My parents still don't know. They don't know that I record. Like, my parents don't know that I record or I go to the studio. Nothing. And I just feel
am I going to get in am I like, are you, am I outing you? Oh, no.
I know. It's not like, I feel like I've kind of like done it so much to the point where I haven't, because I have a guitar at home where I was singing and things like that. They see me do music.
So they see you do music.
But it's like, I don't see the point in me like I don't. I feel like they kind of see me as like, oh, she's just singing, like she enjoys it, and I feel like for now it's good that they think of me that way.
Okay.
Like I don't feel like the need to like, Mom, I'm going to the studio. Like, I feel like the way I view music, it would not be the same for her.
Right. Right.
Right now, like she's not going to be like, you can't go to the studio and nothing. But it's like I've kind of got into this mentality of how I've done it so much. I've not had to like explain myself or get validation that I haven't felt like I need to tell my parents. But I feel like I don't know. They get to know one day. I don't know.
So I want to ask, as a child of immigrant parents and having your parents grown up in a different time and having look at art and music and all the creative things a different way, do you think for your parents, and perhaps it'd be different for someone else's parents, do you think that your parents would be disapproving of music because they'd be worried that you'd never be able to provide for yourself in that way? Or do you think it's more because they don't want you to get hurt or disappointed or, like, what do you...
I think it's both. I think that's why kind of from early on, like you already know kind of the sentiment around music. So it's kind of like, okay, they're going to be like focused on school. And I was already doing that.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, if I'm focused on school, I'm doing something that I'm good at, that's also pleasing them. There's no need for me to get the validation from music. That's something that I own to myself, something that I love. Like, I don't own that to anybody.
Right.
And so I think that's what that came from. And then that whole notion of like, I think one thing that has stopped me from going to them, I think immigrants' parents have a whole different reality. And like, they would be like, oh, go to the studio. Like, now they're not gonna, it's not, I feel like they're not gonna, oh, you going to the studio? Okay, go kill that song. It's gonna be like, oh, okay. End of the conversation. So it's like, my sister, literally, I told them, like, 2 years ago. Okay. My older sister found out, like, 3 weeks ago. I told her. But I would say, like, my journey into music for me, with that whole taboo that comes with it, especially with African communities or just, like, having immigrant parents, for me, it was learning how to navigate the industry and, like, feeling very, very, like, what's the word? I'm still navigating it, but still, like, coming to standing on my own. That was very important for me before I felt like I need to tell people to validate me or, oh my God, I'm going to the studio. Like, love me. Like, I'm going to the studio, prove me. Like, I just felt like me navigating and getting resources for myself was more important than those other opinions that I knew what to expect from or what they would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's very wise. That's kudos. I really appreciate that's your mindset around it. That's really wise. So then the way that you approach music, you're like, you don't need the outside validation because you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know where your passion is. Mm-hmm. You know where your God-given gift is. Mm-hmm. You mentioned in your bio that you want to inspire young girls across Africa. Mm-hmm. How do you draw from that, the way that you are, like, quite independent in how you're thinking, you're authentic about it? How do you draw from that to put into your music to inspire
other girls? I would say I want other young women or other African women who want to pursue creative endeavors or to just be, right? To get in the state of feeling as though they don't have to validate anybody. And definitely that take a lot of boldness. And there's also right now, a lot of the music scenes and are dominated by males, and navigating that scene can be very hard, especially as a 16-year-old sneaking into studios and all that stuff. I often would not see any women or girls, and I always felt like why it was very discouraging.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that I was able to find very supportive male who were in the industry who were able to not take advantage of me and guide me. But that's not the reality for a lot of young girls. When I went to Ghana, Accra, for example, and I was hearing so many stories of like girls getting harassed in the studio, like people stop in music because they would go to the studio and there's already not enough girls doing the studio. And when you're a girl doing like, you know, music or whatnot, you kind of look at like, oh, she a bad girl. She don't, like, you know, she want to hang with the guys, the dudes, like, right? And so there's already that kind of stigma. And then on top of that, you're also faced with the reality of just being in these male-dominated spaces. And it's like, how do you even be? And so for me, as an Afrofusion artist who is upcoming, whatnot, I really want my music to inspire other young girls on the African continent, that when they see me, they can see themselves and see that they too can write, they too can bring whatever creative imaginations they have into life, and they don't have to work or think about the societal restrictions and all the things that are, you know, stopping them.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I really want to do.
That's awesome.
And
that's so incredible. I love that your vision, like, it starts here, but like you have a vision that's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful too, because you being an Afrofusion artist, you know, born and raised in Ghana, has come to America, has developed themselves as an artist, for you to be able to go back and to be able to, you know, in the future work there, and even releasing your music here, you know, and having young African women in the music scene hear it, that is so incredible, because it's, you are the example of what's possible. So that's incredible. I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much. And like even the whole the topic of like female artists or in the Afrofusion, Afrobeat, is not that many. And even when you look at Ghana, obviously there are a lot of like underground female artists who are still upcoming and stuff like that. But the resources and the support to, you know, see many of them that are like kind of on the world stage, you don't see as not that many of us. And so it's definitely something. And then I'm as you go to other countries, I'm sure the numbers are even smaller and smaller on the African continent. When looking at like women and like, you know, the music scene and stuff like that. So it's definitely a topic that's, you know, come dearly to my heart, and something that I want to inspire many girls. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So far on your journey of being an artist and inspiration and general badassery, you have released one single already, Like That. And how long has that been out for?
That one has been a year. I think a year or two, almost 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was your debut single?
That was my debut. That was my first single. And Like That, I released that song with the first when I first knocked out to a studio. There was this, what was the place called? I can't think of it, but there was like this thing for artists to meet producers and stuff, and there was this Afrofusion artist named JR, and he was playing this beat, and I was like, yeah, I need to get his contact information. And so for the when did I meet JR? I think 2018, and Like That came out in 2021. So it kind of shows you, as somebody who didn't have kind of the resources to, a young artist with no music support, to even go to the studio by myself. It took me that long having a contact to finally be able to actually go to the studio and work and release my first song. So that song was with JR, and he made it possible. And so big shout out to him.
Big shout out to JR.
Big shout out to you. So Like That was kind of my first song. It was a beat that he played, and I literally started writing. I was like, this is it.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
And I just released it. And following like that, I released my second song, which is You Won't Go. And both are kind of love songs and things like that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So You Won't Go also follows like that. And I think it came like a few months later after like that. And now I'm about to release my EP.
Yes. So before we get on to the EP that's about to be released, you sing bilingually, correct? You sing. So tell me about that, about singing in
Chi and stuff.
Twi?
Chi.
Twi. Okay.
You're getting there. I would say for me, I am very like Pan-Africanist. I have little nieces who were all born here, and I know that one day I have to be the one teaching them about their culture and things like that. I have
Yeah.
6 nieces. And so for me, Chi has always been something that I aspire to spread throughout my music and combine because it's a part of me.
Yeah.
It's the first way I was ever able to articulate myself. Chi was the first ever language I spoke.
Yeah.
It's the tongues of my ancestors. I know that sounds so
No,
whatnot,
it's so important. It is important.
and
Yeah.
it's something that it's very important to me that in my music I use it because it kind of shows that this is music. I believe is such an intimate part of a person.
Yeah.
That when I speak or when I sing something, I want it to be like, okay, this is coming
This is
from
authentically
this person.
them. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And so I would say a lot of my songs, I would say Chi is my first language, and it was the first way I ever learned to articulate myself, and for me to authentically release something that reflects what I'm feeling or to reflect the message to the world. I believe that indulging in Chi is a part of the way that I'm able to authentically express myself and do so.
I love that. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So with the upcoming EP, it's a mix of Tree and English.
So with the upcoming EP, Find You doesn't have any Chi on there, but Find You does have I kind of mix this Afrofusion to kind of try to switch my accent.
Okay.
So I use kind of different accent, which kind of you hear, you're like, this is a bit different.
Okay.
So I kind of used a lot of unique markers in there that immediately make people question oh, this is definitely coming from the African continent, where you're kind of able to pinpoint. So, and then the other song on there is Something Different. Something Different is also mainly English. And the last song is Wherever You Be At. Wherever You Be At has Chi in it. But overall, Chi is something that I definitely want to continue using in my music. Even if the song isn't fully in Chi, it's still something I want to use little words in there.
Part of it.
Here and there.
Yeah. So what about the sound of the EP? It's Afrofusion, so I guess we're gonna have a little bit of samples and little sprinklings of all sorts of things. What would you say it sounds like?
Okay, I would say, that's for. Okay, Find You, I will feel like I feel like I have to use scenarios to get you to feel what
for sure.
this song is about. Find You is it's kind of like when the stars comes out at night, a long day, and you're maybe kind of arguing with your loved one, and it's very late night, and it's a bit cold, and you're looking at your text message why are you not replying, and you're getting drunk and fuzzy, and the star is out, and you're realizing that you could do so much goodness within yourself, but there's something deep within that you have to address. So Find You feels like that.
Okay. Okay. All right. So it's angsty.
Angsty,
And
angsty.
cold, a little bit cold. Okay.
A little
all
bit
right.
cold.
Yeah.
And so imagine that, and then kind of like pop with, Afro beat type thing. And then something different. Also feel like you're going on a date. Like, Valentine's Day. You found something very, very genuine. Like you're like butterflies, like you're in that honeymoon like type thing. I know there's so much love, toxic love stories out there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Find You is that toxic one. Something different is definitely something different. It dives into, this emotion of wanting to find something new, Valentine's Day, or like you're found something new, something genuine, and you're kind of holding on to it. You're a bit nervous, but you're hoping the other person hold on to you as well.
So it's kind of like chapters.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
the last song is Wherever You Be At.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever You Be At is kind of like, yo, I'm out here. Where y'all at?
Yeah, right. Come find me.
So, Wherever You Be At, kind of also talks about, I'm going to use a scenario. Like you go to, maybe you went to an event and you found somebody and you're like, oh, I really like this person. And I don't know, you kept making eye contact with them, but you were very nervous and you didn't get to get their number. Or something happened. Maybe they gave you their number, you lost it, and you're like, I need to find this person. Like there was something there. Like you felt it, and you could. You also felt that they were reciprocated. That then all of a sudden you can't find that person. You're like, where are you at?
Yeah.
Wherever you be at,
Yeah.
I'll find you. So
I love that. I think that's probably going to be, judging by the storyboarding of it, I'm like, I think that's probably going to be my favorite one.
Yeah, so I would say the whole EP, Love a Girl, kind of dives into the feeling of love, but from the perspective of an African woman or a young African girl in the state who kind of, it's navigating through this world of love, and this is like me as I come, and it's for the girls who love hard, for the girls who get their heart broken, for the girls who...
I mean, I'm married now, but I'm like, I that's the kind of music that I listen to, because that was me, yes.
Like, you love too hard, and like you're kind of like, you realize it's a curse, and it's a good thing at the same time. So that's what Love a Girl is about.
But I think too, I wonder, that is also part of being intensely creative, especially when you're very passionate about what your gifting in creative is, and and so like love and emotion and music and pain, and it's all like, I'm like, oh, it's all really the same. You just like close your eyes a little bit and it's all the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And for me, one thing that's very important is like when I write songs, I try not to, because I want people to interpret it in their own way. So when people were like, what is this song about? Like, why don't you tell me what it's about?
Yeah.
I will play it for you. Tell me what it's about, right? I really want people to listen to my music and pick pieces of themselves in it. My understanding of my music and how I view it would not be the same as somebody else listening to it.
Right.
And so as an artist, I really want those who listen to my songs to be able to find themselves in it. Let the music guide you the same way it led me to those sounds. I want you to find yourself. I want it to speak to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's coming, the EP is coming out very, very soon. What about for the rest of the year? Once your EP comes out, what is the ASARI Music machine plan? What happens next?
Okay, so right now I announced the EP and everything. The first song on the EP that will be released is "Find You," and that released next Friday. So the two other songs are gonna also be released, but as like singles. But they're all gonna end up being on that EP. So the first song is "Find You," and so after this whole like EP thing, I really plan on releasing more music and collaborating with smaller artists and like other women artists on the continent, and just like I'm just open for more opportunities. And I'm just like even as I speak, literally after I finished the EP and I left the studio, I was like, I went to YouTube, started looking for new beats, started writing. When you're so in tune with music, it's just like something you just can't get away from. You're constantly being pulled to write something. Like I hear a sound, I'm like, okay, I have a new song. I need to come to the studio.
Yeah.
So I will say after this EP is definitely more songs, and wherever the sound moves me.
Yeah. Do you like so being an Afrofusion artist means that you pull your inspiration, your styles from all different places. Do you have like a dream album that you would release that maybe no one would expect of you? So like for example, I'm very much, I sing and write towards the jazz soul funk sort of side of things. But in my head, I'm like, I dream about one day releasing a country album. So like, what about you? Do you have like just something so different?
I feel like I would literally drop maybe a gospel. A gospel song or something.
Yeah.
I think people would be like, what? But I would say I would definitely drop a gospel album. It's one of the things that I would do apart from Afrofusion. And then something else people would not expect me to that I could drop. Let me think. Maybe like funk.
Yeah.
Funk type of pop, but it's still kind of pop.
Yeah.
Mixed with funk. Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, what would be like your ideal stage situation if you were doing gigs, or when you are doing gigs a little bit after you've dropped the EP and promoting and stuff? What's your ideal like band setup look like?
Okay. What does my ideal band setup look like? After I released the EP, I'm honestly looking for like to be able to perform like a show for open up for an artist or something like that in front of a huge crowd in a big stadium. Like Davido's coming to Georgia in November. Like even like being able to open up for him would be such a big thing. So like hopefully being able to open up for like be the artist that on the line for the bigger artists coming here. And also, like, there's this thing in Ghana that happens every year, I keep forgetting, but it's kind of similar to that big concert thing that happens in the state, Afrochella, that happens in Ghana.
Oh, okay.
Like, for Dead to December or not, and I'm really planning on this December going to Ghana, promoting my songs there, and also like collaborating with other artists there and performing. My goal is to perform this year, and I know it's going to happen by force or by thunder. I am going to perform for Ghana Afrofuture concert in December. Amen.
By force or by thunder.
By force
Yes.
And,
I believe that for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the whole, back to the question of like, what does the ideal band look like? I would say like a big stage with all sort of like, being able to bring my sound out loud on a live. You have all the different instruments and kind of bring this live performance to people. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, one of my final questions is, what advice would you give to younger musicians, younger women who perhaps are looking to make Afrofusion music, or younger women who are perhaps also children of immigrant parents? What advice would you give?
I would say let the music like lead you, honestly. And my other advice is that you got to take that freedom from your African parent if you feel like you're going to disappoint them, whatnot. I would tell you, we're all going to die in the end. We're all
Hashtag real talk.
Well, we're all gonna die, literally. Like, people are dying every single day. So you're gonna live your life at like 60 something, regretting the fact that you never took your shot at something that you were passionate about. So obviously, like, you know, there's a lot of that. Music is a lot of stuff. You just don't do it. Like, you need to have resources and stuff. I would say start little. If it's just you writing something, it's something that you want to do, take time, dedicate. Maybe you have other stuff that's consuming you. Dedicate time, maybe 30 minutes of your time each day, and write. Try to find a beat to write to. You know, for me, I try to incorporate music into my daily life every day. While I have, you know, other things that I do as well, like, I'm still following my music dreams, right? So I guess for us immigrant kids who are doing other things and also want to follow music or want to follow this passion of ours, I would say don't let the music in you die. Music is something that I would say it's a calling, and it's something that's just so intimate. I keep saying intimate. Music, every artist has a way that music speaks to them, right. And I would say follow that and let that guide you, and always remember where the sound leads you.
I love that.
So yeah.
Follow the music,
and find resources. Try to collaborate with other people.
Yes, that's
like don't be scared to reach out to people. And it's still something that I'm learning to do, like reaching out to people. Like, I'll go to spaces and it's just male, and I'm just always nervous. I'm like, ugh. But sometimes you just have to reach out and let that pride go.
Yeah. True. Yep. Ask for help and Okay, so could you, for everyone watching, share your social media, where to find you on the internet, and where to find all of your music?
Okay, so hi everyone. So my social media is ASARI Music Official for my Instagram. So ASARI Music Official. And my TikTok is ASARI Music, and Twitter is all things ASARI, and then my YouTube is also ASARI Music. But once you find me on Instagram, you'll be able to find all my other socials, because it will be on my Instagram as well.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And if you're an artist who is like ASARI and you would like to be on the show, or you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Vision One Media ATL on Instagram. You can find us Vision One Social at Gmail. We have our Facebook page. We have our website. You can also reach out to me, ellabeth.music on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to be on the show, please let us know. If you know someone who'd like to be on the show, or you think would do a great job, let us know. Let them know. We're always here to work with people and collaborate with them. So, yeah. And thank you so much for being along here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
thank
definitely.
you so much. Yeah.
And we'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.